All right, let's talk Aaron Rodgers here after a very impressive week one, which maybe was a little bit overinflated by his stats, but still a very solid week one. Definitely came back down to earth in this game. Still some good. In fact, let's start off with a positive. He had a really impressive throw in this game that ultimately didn't end up counting, but you see here it's 3rd down and 6. Rodgers is going to take the snap. It was man coverage as you saw on the screen. Rodgers getting outside the pocket. This is something he still very much is trying to do, even at 41 years of age. He's not afraid to still use his legs. Sometimes I think it goes poorly, but like here, he's going to, move outside the pocket. Watch him throw it wall off balance at the 30-yard line. It goes all the way, 56 yards or so down the field. That's one of those vintage Aaron Rodgers type plays. Not quite as fast, but the arm talent is still there, right? He can still chuck it down the field, which is certainly, that's good to see if you're a Steelers fan. Unfortunately, there was a lot in this game that was less good to see. First, let's go over here. This is, an issue we saw week one. We thought maybe this could become an issue later on, and certainly it has been that way here in week two against a good defense. You see the concept on the screen, really the number 2 receiver towards the top of the screen, running a route going towards the sideline. That's something that could potentially get open on this play. Rodgers takes the snap, and you see, is there an opportunity for this to get open? Absolutely. 3rd and 2. All you need is just 2 yards, and this feels like it's going to get you there. Here's the issue. There is some pressure, and we saw last week there was some pressure. This week there is also some pressure. I think you would still like this pass to find a way to be complete. But with the extra pressure, Rodgers has to move a little bit and ends up throwing this one high and late. And because of that, it is incomplete. If you have a clean pocket there, that's a 1st down. Not quite able to do that. And again, Rodgers not quite at his young, spry mode where he can quickly get around that and still get the ball to where he needs to get it to. Heading over to this next one, this was to me the worst play of the game. Even if this ends up just being an incompletion, it had no business just being an incompletion. This is a 3rd down and 9 zone coverage concept. You see a receiver going over the middle of the field. Okay, on paper, this could potentially work if you can get it past the players who are going over the middle of the field on this play. Rodgers is going to take the snap. He's going to look down the field. And as of right here, clearly I don't get what happens here. Clearly this is zone coverage. Clearly there is a player right in front of the passing lane. I don't know how Aaron Rodgers misses this. Maybe it was trying to look over the offensive line. Sometimes that happens where your view gets obstructed because of that. Didn't look like that was happening here. And look, that was just as easy of really what could have been a pick six, as you can see, ends up getting batted up and incomplete. So some positive turnover luck here for the Steelers, but ultimately, really weird play, really uncharacteristically bad play from Rodgers. Even in his bad games he's had, it's usually not he's just blatantly misreading coverages and throwing right to a defender. I don't get what happened there. Very bizarre. Although the turnover gods would then, make him pay for it with interception that really wasn't his fault. Actually, kind of 2 interceptions that count on his resume, but, probably, I don't know if I would say shouldn't, but are simply misleading. There was one late in the game on 4th down, trying to make something happen. No real issues there. People who don't watch the game will then think you played worse, but that's fine. This play was kind of a weird play. It's 3rd and goal. You're inside the 5, have an opportunity to go up late in the 3rd quarter. Obviously, you want to go up 7 points, not just 3 here. Rodgers takes the snap. He's going to look towards the offense's left. Now, he actually talked about how he felt as though Calvin Austin, the player who I haven't circled, but who was on that side of the field, would have been better off just kind of staying shallower in the end zone where the initial route was. He kind of, as the play broke down, decided to move things further down the field. Watch as what happened was Austin kind of tipped that pass going to try and catch it. Ultimately, Freiermuth couldn't make it, and then it pinballs around and ends up getting intercepted. Certainly a tough break for Aaron Rodgers for sure on that one. So, again, football gods work in mysterious ways. Sometimes you get lucky with the turnover stuff. Sometimes you get unlucky, and that can certainly impact how games end up, resulting. There were some positives. For one thing, I do think DK Metcalf, who didn't have an amazing statistical day in this one, only 20 receiving yards, I think he's shown that he's been a very good player for the Steelers. The play you see on your screen, end zone situation, inside the 5, they want to get a touchdown here. You see it's Metcalf's route running towards the bottom of the screen. Rodgers takes the snap. Again, one-on-one matchup right here. And is this wide open or anything? Not really. This is just Rodgers saying, hey, I have a really good player in DK Metcalf who they traded a second round pick and paid a bunch of money to go get. Let me utilize that tool. And Rodgers makes a perfect throw. Really nice, strong catch there by Metcalf. And they're able to convert the touchdown on a 3rd down and goal. So, that's a very key play right there. That kept the Steelers in the game for a while because, if it was only 3, things would be different. So you definitely saw that. This play was also a really nice one. So it's going to be a man coverage concept once again. That's what the Seahawks like to do. They like to play man coverage a lot. They trust their good young corners, and they're going to trust them here. Rodgers takes a snap. He looks down the field, but with the edge rusher going for an inside move, Rodgers notices that there's no contain and moves up more towards the bottom of the screen, trying to let something happen. Now, again, Seahawks have good young corners. They're covering well down the field, but Rodgers does notice Jaylen Warren. Watch as he's going to flip it to Warren, and Warren's going to do incredible stuff here in open space. Watch him breaking tackle after tackle. I'm going to have to pause it right here just for copyright reasons for a second, but I'll resume it in just a bit. This is a huge gain by Jaylen Warren. So, okay, that was just a good play by Jaylen Warren, getting the ball in his hands. Sometimes that happens. But it was also a good play by Rodgers to help set that up, even if it was a lot of yards after the catch. So, you have to give them credit for that. Ultimately, there was still some good here in this game for Rodgers. I think people overreacted to, honestly, I think people have been overreacting to Aaron Rodgers for probably his whole career, if we're being honest. But I think people overreacted to his season last year with the Jets. I thought he was fine last year with the Jets, just not prime Rodgers. And then week 1, kind of similar performance, but because the numbers were so good, people, kind of think overreacted and acted like he's amazing. And then this week, I think people are overreacting to a bad statistical day because there still was some good things. Although heading over here, I do want to bring this up. 3rd and 6, they're down 10 points, have to try and make something happen here. You see Rodgers is going to try and scramble for the 1st down. It looks like he's going to get it here, right? That's what that's what it seems like. The issue is, again, even just 5 years ago, Rodgers is able to pick up this 1st down. Here, though, he, decides to try and make a move because he doesn't think he's going to get it. And honestly, I think he might have still been able to have a chance had he just run it out and tried to, dive for the pylon that isn't there because it's a 1st down, not a touchdown. But you get the idea. Ultimately, that's not what he ends up doing. Isn't able to convert there. Just not quite the athlete that he used to be. And I think he kind of has to realize that if the Steelers are going to go places. But ultimately, not as bad of a disaster as it might look. Just like last week wasn't quite as good as it might look. Rodgers is fine. He's going to be a fine quarterback this year, I think. But yeah, those are my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.